Well, greetings, friends, and welcome to the Gospel Underground Podcast. This is episode 7, Between Rock Candy and a Hard Place, Engaging with Halloween. That's our question today. We are broadcasting live. Well, as always, live for us. We are living from the Power of Change headquarters here in Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm your host, Reed Monahan, here with my co-host, Jesse Fury. How are you doing today, my brother?
I'm doing good, man. I love me some rock candy.
Rock candy.
I love Halloween.
Better than getting an apple in your pillowcase.
Yeah, or a toothbrush when you trick or treat.
When you go to
You
the
gotta avoid the
dentist's
dentist's house.
Well, hey, were you a fancy bag, a plastic pumpkin Halloween trick-or-treater, or a grocery sack? What did you go with?
We went with pillowcases.
That's what we did too.
Yeah, it's so big. You could fit so much candy in one of those.
You go big
Yeah.
before you go home on
Yeah.
Halloween.
You know, we couldn't afford like our own dedicated Halloween candy pumpkins to carry it around. We just took our pillowcases.
Amen.
And then if a bully tried to take your candy,
yeah,
you
that could
convert that
happen.
thing into a weapon. That
And you
is like
whack 'em.
a savage weapon. Pillowcase full of nerds and
Real talk, here in the New River Valley, we had like almost tropical storm level winds last night, wind blowing, and there's this huge black pumpkin jack-o'-lantern. Looks like you could use to bring home 2 or 3 pillowcases, or just blew up in front of our house. And so
I
don't
saw
know,
it when I pulled up
I don't
here.
know if we should put it on display so the owner can find it, or just walk it down the street.
I thought it was odd that you placed a black jack-o'-lantern in front of the sewer in front of your house.
That's right. That's
I
right.
guess the wind blew it there.
That's one of those things that I didn't want to touch. Well, we are talking about Halloween, All Hallows Eve, history a little bit today, as well as chosen practices. If you're walking in the borderlands between the church and culture, many years, many hundreds of years have been walked on October 31st when the seasons change. It starts to get darker. The old pagans used to do old pagan things, and Christians do Christian things, and there's somewhere in between. That's where we're going today. Later in our segment here, Jess is going to give us a little history on things, and then we're going to just talk about practical. We'll give you 5 responses, maybe ways to engage Halloween. We may even use a metaphor of a hand to give you those 5 things. Well, we had a members meeting at our church last night where Jesse handed out 95 Reese's.
95 Reese's. Got to celebrate Reformation Day.
Yeah, man, Reese's are my favorite candy in every form. I wish every holiday, whether it's a good holiday or a bad one, make like presidents' heads out of Reese's peanut butter cups, Christmas trees, pumpkins, hearts,
Anything.
any jack-o'-lanterns, little leprechauns. What do you call those? 4-leaf clover Reese cups. I'd eat them.
Yeah, leprechaun. Any. Yeah. You know, a few years back, a couple of people did a prank on me where they taped 95 Reese's cups onto my study door on Reformation Day on Halloween.
Yeah.
It was the greatest prank anyone's ever done to me.
Yeah,
Because then every day when I went into my study, I left them taped up there as a reminder of the Reformation and
Right.
the 5 solas and whatnot. But
Right.
really, I left them up there so that I had this almost just dispensing machine of Reese's.
right.
You would just walk in, pull one off the door.
Instead of 95 bottles of German beer on the wall, you had take one down Reese cup, passed around, and had a good day.
Yeah, I would be ashamed to admit how long it took me to finish those. It wasn't 95 days.
Probably it's probably because you're a healthy
Far
person.
less. No, far less. I ate so many of those. So, Reed, how you doing, man? How's your week been?
My week's been good. I've been traveling every weekend, and this weekend I got to travel, but not by myself or out on the road serving in ministry. I went with my family, all of us together, to kind of rejoice with my wife. She was inducted to her high school sports Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame?
Yeah, man, it was fun. We were out on the football field, Garner High School there outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, and listening to my wife's resume being read over the PA system while my kids just like were dropping. It was really a pleasant thing to honor her. Her parents came. We all stayed kind of together. It was really a sweet time. Now back in the
That's
saddle.
fun, man.
We're here for on Mischief Night. We'll tell you about that here in a minute, perhaps. But day before Halloween in the Northeast, they have a special holiday. Of course they do. But yeah, we're back, and looks like I need to cut my grass one more time, and then we are getting some fall weather and heading towards the winter. I
Man,
guess
it feels like winter.
Yeah.
All
it's
right,
cold
let
today.
me ask you some in or out questions here, Reed. Okay. So one of the segments we do is in or out. You
All
want to
right,
jump
all
in
right.
on this? You want to stay
Okay.
out on this? Did you celebrate Halloween as a kid?
I'll go in on that. I certainly did. It was a big deal. I didn't kind of have a church background, and so Halloween was just a natural thing that little kids in the neighborhood did. And you get candy. You learn about maybe the brokenness of the world where you're checking like fruit for razor blades, and every now and then something evil was done. But for the most part, it was like, oh, get chocolate. Didn't like candy corn, but Reese's always a hit on Halloween.
And you grew up in Virginia Beach,
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
757. Do
Yeah,
people still
it
do
was,
that area
yeah, they
code
do the
thing?
757.
Yeah,
I
757.
actually am very old, so if there's any 757ers out there who remember area code 804, which I think might be Richmond now.
It's Richmond.
But we were 804 growing up before the 757. But yeah, that was my.
I was a
my
703 kid.
703.
Yeah.
Nova.
We don't do that though. We don't call it the
No,
703.
yeah, just a little more swagger, I think, in Hampton and Tidewater, kind of down there.
I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. So
Michael Vick, Allen Iverson, all from Ronald Curry, all from the 757.
yeah, but those are all old people.
I know they are old. That's true.
They're like our age.
Yeah, we're Tyrod Taylor. He might have been from there too. Brian Randall. A lot of yeah, these are old people.
So
So yeah, I celebrated as a kid Halloween for sure.
fun holiday for you?
Yeah, it was good, man.
Man, it was like my favorite. I loved Halloween as a kid,
I just
man.
look forward to it for weeks.
Oh yeah, and then you enjoy it for weeks.
Yeah.
Well, if you could ration your candy well,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have any fun Halloween customs you did?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly dressed up. We were a little bit of everything. Probably my favorite costume. I don't know if it was legit or cool or not, but my brother and I and some friends dressed up as the band Kiss. The you shook me all night long kind of people. They had this makeup kit, and we went straight up. I think I was Peter Criss, the one that looks like a little kitty cat kind of thing. And people were Gene Simmons. I know Kiss not a good band. I know there's some bad stuff, but yeah, that was what my.
How old were you?
Probably 9. I was pretty little. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Pretty misled activity there, but yeah, it was fun. It's what I remember for sure.
I remember we would every Halloween we'd go out. We'd when we were kids, our parents just sent us out.
Yeah.
Like they didn't walk
Yeah, out
around with
into
us.
the dark,
Out
too.
into the dark.
Yeah,
It was dark out. And I'd go out with my friends and our pillowcases and then we would all come back to one central house, dump all the candy into piles, and then trade.
Yeah, it was so smart.
Oh, it was so fun. We would trade and negotiate and try to get the best of the weak link. Like
You always had one guy who was running game on trying to get all the Snicker
yeah.
bars.
And then
or
and you had
something.
one friend who was just kind of a people pleaser. So you just
He liked to
come on, I'll trade you all of these squirrel nut. What are those things called?
Beech nut or
Yeah,
something.
I'll trade you all these.
Tootsie Rolls, the ones I always try to get rid of.
Oh
Get
yeah,
rid
you
of
can
the
have
Tootsie
all
Rolls.
my Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah,
except
give
for
me
the
all your Reese cups for my
yeah.
Tootsie Rolls.
I'll give you 100 Tootsie Rolls
Yeah.
for like 20 Reese's cups. All right, so what's the worst thing here? In or out?
Okay.
Confession time.
Oh gosh.
Worst thing you've done in the Halloween season?
Worst thing.
You in
gosh.
on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go in, but I know that the undergrounders are going to think low of me for this one. One of the things I did realize, though, is in New Jersey, they didn't have this in Virginia when I was growing up. They actually have a separate holiday called Mischief Night. So all the New Jersey
Sounds
people
like a
listening,
Jersey thing.
Yeah, it kind
No
of
offense,
is.
Jersey
It's a
people.
northeastern U.S. thing. Well, it's also called the Devil's Night, apparently, without getting a little bit ahead of ourselves of the spiritual implications of Halloween. But it's also called the Devil's Night. But it was basically a night where you go out and did pranks, mischief things. I think I would have been a good fit for that as a kid because a couple guys on my football team in high school, one of them, I'm not going to say his name, but he had this little slogan. He would say, "Ghosts, goblins, witches, and hags. Tonight's the night to snatch some bags." And, and it was a mantra for us, and we would literally go after some of those pillowcases as big, huge guys on little kids. Now, before everyone.
See,
out
when
there.
I was a kid, we would have been way more afraid of you than any kind
Yes.
of ghouls or goblins.
Yes.
It was
And-
teenagers we were afraid of.
and rightly so. Now I will, in our defense, say that we always gave the bags back.
Empty.
We did no. We did them for effect, and we would always come back, and the parents would scream at us still, and we would give the bag back to the kids or drop it if the parents were very angry. But we liked the effect that took place after the snatching, but we would never actually fully steal.
Yeah, that's bad.
Kenny is
But you
bad,
gave
yeah.
it back.
Yeah, we gave it back. Yeah, it was
That's
like
surprising.
yeah, it's like a little Robin Hood. I don't even know if that makes sense, but
No,
that's what
not
we did.
really.
Not
You're
Robin Hood.
stealing from the poor and then giving back to
giving
the
back.
poor.
We're not doing anything.
Yeah,
really.
you're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
All right.
And morally, it probably was not a neutral act because it was kind of cruel.
Yeah, I would agree. It was cruel.
But we
That's why you're saying it's the worst thing you've
But we
done.
snatched them bags.
Have you ever been part of a harvest festival, like a church harvest festival? People do this.
I'll go in on it.
Oh.
I never had as a child, but I went to one as an adult with my wife, and they were replete with Bible games and things like that. So it was different. It wasn't something that I think it was well intentioned. Let's say that.
All right, good enough. All right, I think that's all I got for you for in or out.
Yeah, I went in on everything. I just,
Yeah, you're an in kind of guy,
I
man.
want to talk about Halloween.
You said you already. What's the coolest thing you dressed up as a kid?
My coolest, I don't know. I think we tried to be Hercules one time when I was a little too old for Halloween, and we're trying to strut our stuff in the neighborhood. But other than that, I don't really remember a lot, except for that we all were Kiss. As
The Kiss,
way
yeah.
too young kids.
Yeah. The too young Kiss.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
That's good. I was thinking I can't remember many of my. I can't remember what I dressed up as, but I guess it's been a while. I do remember when I was in college, I dressed up as the dude from The Big Lebowski because my friend Jake, shout out, Jake has the dude's sweater, but not like they started remaking it. I actually saw a guy in a coffee shop last week he had the dude's sweater. You familiar with the dude?
Yes,
yeah, the
yes,
dude abides.
Yes.
And but Jake had the sweater and it belonged to his grandpa. His grandpa was the original dude.
Oh my god.
Apparently. So the movie came out and Jake was,
It was
like, "Oh,
modeled after him.
yeah, it could be." The movie came out and Jake said, "I have that sweater." And so
I have two friends in New Jersey that because we just said the Big Lebowski on the Gospel Underground podcast, we'll just be happy people.
oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
And we sometimes talk about things on the Gospel Underground. We're not either recommending nor non-recommending.
No. Yeah. There's a lot that I did in college I wouldn't recommend or even want to talk about, but I carried around a little low ball glass and
You guys did it,
stuffed
man.
stuffed
Love it.
a pillow inside of my V-neck, white T-shirt, had some slippers on, and just anyway, I was the dude.
Yeah, adult Halloween is.
There are
another-
pictures of that.
another thing
I'm
that's,
glad. This side note, every now and then I think about how glad I am that we had to use like real cameras with real film, which meant we didn't take many pictures in college.
Yeah,
There's just not a lot of evidence of things that we did.
the
back
kids
then.
today. Of course, they've invented Snapchat now to try to get rid of some of the evidence, but still, there is longevity to our foolishness that kind of travels with the youth today.
I do have some pictures of that dude outfit though. Hey, so Halloween history, right?
Let's go in.
All right, let's go in. So, as we were thinking about Halloween, really what we're thinking about is what are some of the right orientations towards this holiday? How should people think about and celebrate Halloween? There's some interesting things about Halloween currently. You know how much money is generated by Halloween?
100 million.
Okay, so you're close. You're close. 100 million is close to how much Americans spend on costumes for their pets.
Oh,
Pets.
like dog Halloween.
Dog. Yeah. Americans spend $350 million on Halloween costumes for pets.
Wow.
Pets. Okay, so
Question is Jesus pleased with this? Keep going.
Jesus loves your pets, okay, but he doesn't want you to spend that much money on them, on at least their Halloween costumes. This is from 2014, short little article in The Atlantic. We'll link to it in the show notes. But Halloween spending is $7.4 billion in the U.S. on candy, costumes, and decorations.
I hope a lot on Reese cups.
Two
Man.
$2 billion is candy. And so potentially 2.5 billion. I'm sure it's more now. So this is a huge holiday. You said, did you?
Yeah, I think I read something yesterday said that the second largest commercial holiday in America behind Christmas, which we all know we spend too much money then, but
Gotta put
Halloween
the,
number
you know,
two.
I like to put the X back in Xmas.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
You got to put the Christ back in Christmas.
Yeah, that's right. Where do we put it in Halloween? Well,
That's a good question.
Or
Yeah.
do
So,
we? Yeah.
so there's a lot of controversy about Halloween because we've learned that really it's not just the Celtic Druid holiday of Samhain,
right,
which we see a correlation between
origins around this time of year.
this
with
time of
certain
year the
pre-Christian
That's right,
religions
yeah.
and Celtic peoples. My people, actually, I'm Irish, so I got some Celtic blood in the veins. That there
Yeah,
was a
me as well.
celebration
Yeah.
that turned when the seasons turned and it started to get darker. There were certainly celebrations that morphed and evolved right over the years.
That's right. And Samhain, I believe, is maybe kind of a god of the dead. And the thing that's notoriously difficult about this is we don't have very much writing from Druids. There's not like a Druid holy book that catalogs all of this stuff. And so we sort of piece together different things. And the truth is that pretty much every culture has some kind of Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
Some kind of celebration, both of the turning of the seasons, of celebrating this kind of Day of the Dead, but there's a rich Christian history associated with Halloween. It's not just something that like the Christians stamped,
Right.
kind
Plundered
of
the
yeah,
pagans,
they didn't just plunder it and
took
say,
the
"Oh,
holiday."
we'll take that over."
Yeah.
It really comes down to contextualization, but not just that. There was a celebration, All Hallows Eve, which happened on October 31st, in celebration of All Saints Day, which would be November 1st, where we're celebrating those who have died in victory, right? So the idea being our forebears in the faith who have died, but the death is actually a victory over demons and Satan
when
and so on.
Europe pre-Christian has this Day of the Dead, various cultures in different forms, and then the church, right, in this case the Roman Catholic Church, creates a celebration of those who have died in the Lord. Obviously with some of the hagiography of sainthood and beatification that maybe we as maybe more Protestant believers would not hold to. But in essence, after the Day of the Dead, celebrating those who died in victory in Jesus.
That's right. We actually have history going back to the 3rd and 4th century. John Chrysostom even talks about in the 4th century that the Eastern Church celebrated a festival in honor of all the saints who died. So this is parallel celebrations. It's not
Chrysostom is dealing with Eastern Greek speaking Christianity.
That's right.
That was separate from the Roman Catholic Latin.
That's right. So on the Eastern side, that's right. We've got Chrysostom giving evidence of this going back to the 4th century. On the Western side, we actually have this really interesting letter from, and I don't have it in front of me, but I'm going to summarize it. Gregory the Great, Pope Gregory, writing to Augustine, not the Augustine.
Another one.
Yeah, the Augustine who went to missionary into England, and went to the Celtic people, and it's not directly involving Halloween or Samhain or All Hallows Eve, but what Gregory the Great said to him in this letter is he said, "Listen, as you come into these pagan worlds that they have their own festival days, they've got their own celebrations, they have temples and altars. Here's what you need to do: go in there and get rid of the altars. We need to make sure we clear the altars out. We want to try to have some clarity about their worship practices." But we have our own festivals. We have our own temples and our own buildings where we gather together to worship. And so there's no sense in necessarily just destroying their temples. If their temples are solid, he says, if they're well made, convert them, translate them into church buildings. If their festivals are, if they're used to gathering at the end of October for this festival of celebration of, honoring the dead, remind them, hey, we do the same thing. We have a celebration of our dead but it's different.
Right.
Okay. And so help them see the difference, but help basically translate their desire to gather and, gathering to have a celebration is not a bad thing. Honoring even our ancestors is not a bad thing. Worshiping them is. And so we want to walk them out of false worship into the true worship, but we can kind of translate the calendar for
Right,
them.
right.
And so that goes back to the 5th century as
So
well.
really, really interesting and complex issue is how something that's transcultural, like the gospel, that's really a word from without, comes to people who live within cultures, right? Because
Yeah.
there's certain aspect of every cultures when Jesus encounters them. There's certain aspects that are beautiful and good because of the image of God being lived, food styles and clothing and art. And then there's obviously every culture, whether it's our culture's idolatry with the worship of money or success or image, or other cultures where statues and different things are worshipped, or parts of nature or fertility worshipped as gods. And so this kind of, a lot of times people say, well, that's just syncretism to take over, a temple or something.
Yeah.
But syncretism is the mergings of the beliefs and worship of a culture to pollute, right?
That's right.
The biblical witness of the gospel.
Yeah, to say you can worship your God and our God is
Right,
syncretism.
right.
To take a building and say this building is no different from any other building. It's just a nice solid building that
right.
that you guys happen to gather in.
Right.
Hey, let's gather in this building and worship the true God.
But if we're worshiping Wall Street or worshiping Odin and Jesus at the same place at the same time, then that's
Yeah.
where the confusion comes in and syncretism
Right.
comes in. But the gospel always travels through cultures and then even takes upon various forms, languages. We know that the gospel traverses languages and certainly local customs that are not, right?
Yeah, and I think I'm not necessarily arguing that Gregory was right.
Right.
I just want to present. Here's part of the history of how we sort of Christianized the calendar,
Right.
And I do think there's something good about contextualization.
That's right.
It's complex, and we have to.
And many times there's mistakes making
Right,
on,
right.
on all sides where syncretism does take place. But there's also a place where one culture then becomes imperialistic, thinking its culture is actually the one that fell out from heaven.
Right, as if it's acultural
that's
or
right.
above culture, right?
Certainly colonial Christian societies have done that in ways that were certainly inappropriate
Yeah.
and wrong.
Yeah, and one of the things I like to talk about when we talk about contextualization, I didn't know we were going this route, but I like
didn't
it.
either, but
One of the things that's so striking to me is how so Christianity, it comes to us in a translation,
yeah.
right? So not only do we have God himself translating himself into human form,
Right.
which I would argue is a form of contextualization,
right.
Or I would even say it might be the type or anti-type of contextualization,
Right.
the thing that contextualization draws from. God translated himself, Philippians 2, from his place in heaven
That's right.
to human form, to our flesh.
And in doing so, communicated to humans in the way that's probably most easily understood.
Right.
Instead of taking on a specific, I'm only going to come to one people, one culture. He took on something that's common to all people in culture, but became a Galilean man speaking Aramaic in context, but with the image of God.
Yeah.
God become human so that we might see and know a person.
Yeah.
And I think all human beings, despite culture, see and know persons, but we also know that persons travel in cultures.
He became encultured, and then Christianity is like the major religion that has a translated a holy book.
Yeah.
So even the words of our founder come to us via translation. It has Jesus's teachings and the teachings about Jesus
Right.
have been translated from the very beginning. From even the picture of the Pentecost.
That's right.
When there's a translation happening to all of these different encultured people who then take that translated message of Jesus back to their own cultures.
And the practice of worship. They praised God in each their own tongues.
Right.
And then they brought the worship of the Creator, the one God. And so this gets to the beauty that truth can be conveyed, right? God conveyed himself to us in Jesus, and then we convey who Jesus is both through the Old and New Testaments as he's proclaimed in the world to all cultures.
Right.
And when those things come in contact, there has to be wisdom from a people to say, this cultural practice, is this something that can be submitted to Jesus as King to the glory of God, or is it something that should be rejected? And so hence talking about Halloween.
That's right. Yeah. So let me jump back into the history. That was good.
Yeah.
So a few things that I find really interesting with the history. So one is we're not really sure what happened on Samhain, this Celtic holiday. We just don't know. So we know some things, but we don't know a lot. We do know that people dressed up on All Hallows Eve, which became Halloween. That people dressed up as the dead. Now, some strands, again, these are encultured in different places. Some places we have evidence that they were revering the dead. They were saying, "Hey, let's celebrate these heroes of the faith." In some places, we actually have this rich history of shaming the devil, and so this sense that on this day that some people celebrate like darkness and evil, the Christians are going to dress up. This is even gargoyles on churches.
Yeah.
Gargoyles on churches with their tongues sticking out. They're actually ridiculous. They're a little scary, but they're ridiculous. And they're meant to shame the devil. Like, you think you won, but you didn't win. Death didn't have the last word, right? So they would, this is even part of the history of making the devil into this kind of cloven hoofed, forked tongue, horns and the bifurcated tongue and the tails. Part of that is to make fun of, poke fun. It really follows in some way Luther, his whole thing of the one way to really drive the devil away. The one thing the devil can't handle is jeering, is joking, is making fun of him, is taunting him.
Your comment about gargoyles brought to mind this quote from G.K. Chesterton, a book a little over 100 years old called Orthodoxy, where he said there is a vital objection to the advice merely to grin and bear it.
Yeah.
The objection is that if you merely bear it, you do not grin. And then he says this: Greek heroes do not grin, but gargoyles do, because they are Christian.
Nice.
And I do think an over-obsession with the devil in the terms of giving him too much power or giving him too much due is a mistake we can make with the devils, and certainly a tradition that mocks or not mocks in a way that we're going to be more powerful than the devil. The Lord rebuke you, as the Bible says.
Yeah, that's right. So there's some history there of we're not quite sure some of like the jack-o'-lanterns origins. Really throughout the course of the last 1,500 years, we see Halloween has both dark,
actual occult practices,
occultic practices,
right.
And
Summoning
it has rich,
the dead, right?
Yeah, and it has rich Christian practices that remind us both of the heroes of the faith, which even if we look at Hebrews, we have this picture. We're supposed to look at the heroes of the faith.
Right.
We're supposed to celebrate them. We don't have to fall into a kind of hagiography of making saints out of the heroes, and
making them superheroes.
Make them superheroes.
Humans, yeah.
But there's a history of honoring and looking back and celebrating, as well as shaming the forces of darkness that Jesus has won.
Right.
And you can come out and try and scare us.
Right.
But we're going to turn you into a joke.
Right.
And so I think throughout history we see both at work.
Right, because the practices of summoning the dead, certainly inviting the demonic, has also been associated with the history of this time of year in various cultures.
Yeah.
And so the concerns, we're not saying the concerns are not warranted, they are, but the history is a bit more mingled, at least in terms of Christian practice.
It's very mingled. And I would even argue that I think that often what we hear about Halloween is connected to these Druid festivals and Celtic kind of pagan festivals, in part because the Christian history is pushed aside, I think, because of a commitment to pluralism, which isn't a bad thing as far as, if you're in you want to show that, anyway, this commitment to show like pluralistic roots of things, but also kind of to make designer paganism more acceptable.
It's been a replundering, if you will, where neo-paganism, or go back to the pre-Christian European roots. What is the pentagram? Satanism being a worship of nature, trying to bring a popularity to that, a claiming of the complete holiday season around Halloween by such ideas.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
For sure. And so the Christian practices around these things that are very ancient as well are kind of lost.
They're pushed aside, and so we just don't learn about them. It's worth digging into and seeing that there's, it's not a modern candy holiday.
Right.
Now it is now,
Right.
as we just saw with how much money is spent.
Right,
But
right, and there are intense cultic practices,
Yeah.
occultic practices associated.
yeah, it's kind of a
with the
missed up.
holiday.
That's why we're talking. It's
That's
'cause
right.
it's-
That's right. And because of that, a Christian, I'm a Christian parent, saying, well, should we even participate in this at all? What are our practices with a holiday like this?
Yeah, give us some
It
advice.
has
Reed.
some weird history and even some dark evil associated with it. And certainly Hollywood has taken it that way, right? We want to get into, Freddy Krueger slasher films, Michael Myers, Halloween, spooky, scary stuff, right? And so a
Have
Christian
you seen
parent
Have you seen the movie Baby Driver?
I have not. My
They-
wife will not watch a horror movie. So
Oh, it's not a horror movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like an action. It's a good movie.
I haven't seen it.
And for they're bank robbers,
Oh.
and the main guy tells them to go get, one of the guys tells them to go get some Michael Myers masks, Halloween masks
Yeah, yeah.
for the bank robbery, and the guy shows up with Austin Powers,
Powers.
Mike Myers. It's
Wayne's
just-
World.
it's just funny.
Yeah,
They
that
are
is funny. Yeah,
Halloween
Michael
masks.
Michael Myers of Halloween is kind of freaky. Well, there are parallels, right, for dealing with issues that followers of Jesus might disagree upon. We could call them debatable matters. So things like, should you have a beer or not, or drinking, certainly been discussed in the history of the church. I'll link in the show notes to an article on alcohol participation or not. But some of these categories that I'll give now follow, any debatable issue.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give 5, and I'll use them as fingers to kind of help guide us along. The first one, let's just say, is our index finger. This is prohibitionism, meaning that everyone who's a Christian should not participate in this thing. So Halloween, it is prohibited, morally wrong, ungodly in any and every form and participation. I call it the index finger because you're pointing the finger at those Christians or those people who are doing it wrong, and you prohibit it.
So you're starting with the index finger. I'm
I'm
just
not going-
really interesting where you're going next.
I'm only using the metaphor for the pointer finger and the thumb.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
not saying abstentionism is
Is a
the
middle finger
is the
to
middle
anybody.
finger to anyone.
Good.
Now, abstentionism is the next position. This position says it is wrong. It is not wrong for everyone, but it's not right for me. Now, you don't give the middle finger to others who do practice it. But this is wrong for my family and my conscience.
Okay.
And we really need to leave room on issues like this for conscience. For instance, the issue of alcohol. Someone who, in wisdom, they see the attendant negative effects of alcoholism, addiction, ruin of families, and they choose by their own conscience not to participate. Some would look at Halloween that way. There's certain practices culturally that we think get too close for our conscience to things that are wrong or wicked or evil. And so there's other practices that people who abstain from Halloween might do. You mentioned harvest parties, right? Things to go to at the church. Things like trunk or treat.
Gotta have your trunk or treat,
Trunk or
yeah.
treat, right? Where you things like chick tracts. No, I'm just kidding. Where you hand out, Reformation rave parties, maybe Protestant costumes.
Whoa. What's a Reformation rave
That's where
party?
you get your Luther monk hairdo hat and a hammer, and you just go crazy. To
You go
strobe
crazy?
lights. No, I made that up. I've never heard of a Reformation rave party. But you
It
get
sounds
yeah,
fun.
you get what I'm saying.
Can you buy a Luther, like a
Oh,
monk?
I bet you can.
I need to find one of those.
You get one of those weird, make a ball
monk
head
hair,
like a horseshoe.
I mean,
monk
I was
hair.
just going to shave my head for it,
Yeah,
but
don't do it.
if I knew I could get
Don't do it.
a wig.
So prohibition, all should not participate. It's wrong for everybody. I'm declaring it so. Abstention, it's wrong for me, not right for my family to participate in Halloween, but others might be able to do so in conscience. Moving over to the ring finger, maybe this is where we get married. We're using the finger metaphor a little too
Yeah,
much here.
I do like that you skipped the middle finger, though.
Yeah.
sort of.
No, we're abstentionists. Don't
Yeah.
give the middle finger to the
You don't
participants.
do it.
Moderation means there should be parameters around the participation. In other words, we might participate in Halloween or even the night, October 31st, in certain ways. I've seen hell nights and haunted hell houses where people try to preach the gospel through
Yep.
the holiday.
Plenty of those around here.
Slasher stuff there is. I will not be going to those. But hey, we can participate in some aspects of
Get chased around by a chainsaw with no blade in it.
That's right.
No
That's
chain.
right.
A chainless chainsaw.
Maybe some eyeballs that are grapes, but you say that these eyeballs are in hell or something like that. So there's parameters around participation, and it's still very a Christian focus on the thing. The pinky finger, right? I'll call thoughtful engagement. So you hold your pinky up while you take a sip of your German Reformation beverage.
Yes.
This means participation with wisdom in order to engage our neighbors. In other words, we want to participate with our friends who maybe don't know the Lord, who have, like us growing up, Halloween was a big deal.
Yeah.
I saw a friend's tweet the other day that Halloween, Jeremy Rose, pastor of Access Church in Nashville area, said that Halloween is God's providential ordained time for all of us to meet our neighbors.
Yeah.
Because look, man, we live in a culture where people come in and out of their houses, in and out of their garage, up and down to work and back. And Halloween, everyone, right, in the neighborhood is out. They're on the streets. They're talking to each other. So some practices, right, Prince? Do it with your neighbors. Avoid the occult. Avoid the dark and demonic, but have fun with our friends. And I'm going to skip real quick to the thumbs up. The thumbs up. Yeah, that just means everything's okay. Do it all. Hey, let's go to our Ouija board out and talk to the dead. Well, there's certain things that are cultural.
Thumbs down.
And thumbs down on that. And they're not just cultural, they're spiritual, right?
Yeah.
We are not unaware of the devil's schemes. There is spiritual powers of darkness in this present realm. We don't want to play with occultic practices, nor do we want our children to. And so the whole thumbs up, green light, everything about cultural celebrations for Halloween are wrong, nor pointing the finger at everyone that they are all wrong in participating at all. So
you want to make room for those middle three.
Yeah, I want to make room for abstention and conscience. We don't do that. I want to make room for moderate participation with wisdom, and then the closely related one with maybe a little more intentionality, thoughtful engagement, participating with wisdom as we engage our neighbors with the truth, with Jesus, with being in each other's lives so that we might share the true Creator, God, and Savior that we love and serve, Jesus, with our neighbors who are out, looking for Reese cups. So some practices, man. What does your family do?
I'll tell you one thing.
Where do you land on this?
Well,
we haven't even talked about this.
Yeah, we haven't. While you were talking about, the God's sovereignly ordained night where all your neighbors come outside, I was thinking about as a kid, part of why Halloween was one of my favorite days of the year was it was crazy in our neighborhood. There'd be hundreds of kids outside, parents walking around, parents sitting out or dressing up like something scary and, popping up out of a coffin in the front yard or something. But it was like a giant block party. People didn't even drive, right? You kind of just shut it down. Yeah. And it was this cultural phenomenon that it was fun. Yeah. It was just like, so I was thinking, I didn't know of anything occultic happening when I was a kid.
Just unaware of it.
Just unaware. I didn't know it wasn't like I had friends that were like, let's go find a baby and, it was just
the pentagram
let's get the pentagram out. It was just, let's dress up, go get candy, have fun outside. Yeah. And so now we have this sort of like,
and the age of your children.
My children are 7, 6, and 5.
Okay.
And one on the way.
T-minus
in 1 month.
Counting on the launch pad.
Which, anyway. So 7, 6, and 5. And the last few years we have it is kind of small, but it's actually pretty big for our small town. We will have 60 people in our front yard and backyard tomorrow night.
Yeah.
We will have in fact, you guys are invited. We'll have all kinds of people over. So what we do is we take that idea that there's one day of the year where people are out, their doors are open, they're walking around. You have an opportunity to engage with your neighbors, and then we think through, why don't we just throw a party?
Yeah.
So we will have a fire in our fire pit. We'll have I have 2 gigantic, the biggest oak trees you've ever seen that just shed leaves constantly. I'll blow my entire yard with my blower. The next day, it doesn't look like I touched it. So I make the biggest leaf pile I could possibly make. All the kids come and they play in it. Parents will bring crock pots full of stuff to share. They'll bring their own drinks and food, and we just have this kind of outdoor potluck hangout party. We get all the kids together for a picture. So we've got this annual picture of the kids getting a little bit bigger and bigger. And there's always kids freaking out. And like,
Right.
you know, some of the kids are great. Some of the kids are like crying. And,
Peter Criss makeup is running all over the place.
and so we just have a blast, man. So we try to invite, you know, our people from church. We try to invite neighbors. We try to invite, we actually tell people that we invite your friends, invite someone that you want to invite. Like this is just, it's just pretty easy, low key. We show, so then everybody, we warn our neighbors.
Yeah.
We will have a mob of children. There'll be like 40 kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, you kind of have to stock up if you're in a neighborhood because you're about to have a swarm of children come through.
It's not the Walking Dead, it's the Walking Kids coming in a herd.
Yeah.
To get them
So if you've got
Reese's,
like a lame bowl of candy with like 30 things in it, it's gone.
Yeah.
You got to have a lot of candy in our neighborhood.
Beach nut and Tootsie Rolls.
And then we bring a bit of, please,
Oh,
enough of the bit of honey.
Yeah, enough with that.
Don't give that out.
Away with thee.
I'm out with a bit of honey. And then we'll show the Charlie Brown Halloween thing.
Great Pumpkin.
Yeah, the Great Pumpkin out on a projector in our backyard, and then we just wrap it up, and it's just fun.
Yeah,
it's
man.
fun.
It's great. My wife, I'm like not the, you know, I'm not an abstentionist, but I'm not the leader of the pack for this holiday. My wife will still put on a cowgirl outfit and go around the neighbors. I sometimes would too.
A cowgirl outfit?
Yeah,
Reed, you'd put one of those on?
No, yeah. I don't dress up for Halloween. I don't do the adult Halloween thing.
yeah.
I'm lame like that. My wife's not. She's awesome. But we took turns, you know, in New Jersey, taking the kids out, walking around. But my wife is awesome because, like, when we first moved to New Jersey, we literally knew one person in the state. We're up there to plant a church, and my wife started this tradition in our neighborhood, and she basically did this little thing called booing people, where you like put a bag of candy, you put a sticker on or a piece of paper with a ghost on it, stick it on their house, and say you've been booed. Do that to your other neighbors, and literally my whole neighborhood was papered with
Nice.
these little ghosts and boos. And then at the end of after everybody went out, you know, get their candy and everything, my wife hosted like a chili. You know, cook a big pot of chili, hot chocolate. Everyone came to our house. We had neighbors meeting each other for the first time in our house who'd lived in the same street for 10 years.
Wow.
And so the hospitality that I saw my wife do, one lady, Italian lady named Dolores, came in our house. She was dressed, I think, by like the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy. And she was like, "Oh, you did that boo thing." And Casey's like, "I don't know who did that." She's like, "I live here 10 years and they've never been booed." And so it was just wonderful watching my wife look at this holiday, have fun with our kids, and then invite people into our home where we were able to meet people and then extend fellowship. Some people visit our church because of the friendship that was formed
same.
counterculturally in our neighborhood. Yeah. This year, I'm getting a big chunk of my thigh cut out, literally, not for the effect of stitches and blood. I literally have a severe precancerous thing in my leg, so it's not cancer. Don't freak out anybody, but you know, it's one of those that they want to take. So I'll have home duty tomorrow night where I will hand out I will deal Reese's.
So you'll buy the candy, you'll hand it out. So
We'll
you're still
do
participating.
Yeah, we participate, man. We do. We try to be wise.
You don't want to be the house with the lights off in your
No,
neighborhood?
we're not that and say go to church at Turkey or anything like that on Halloween. But our ultimate goal, obviously, is to meet people and to love our neighbors as ourselves, resist the practices that would lead towards occultic things or playing with devils. That's not wise. And so there's a resistance, but while you participate, and I think every missionary, right, in any culture has to resist certain aspects of the culture while engaging and participating in celebrations appropriately to the glory of God. There's a bit of biblical wisdom. I call this biblical casuistry, a case study from the Bible, because you might think, man, this thing in the Bible, that's not my thing, but I'm wrestling with whether I should have a glass of wine at happy hour with my coworkers, or I'm wrestling with how much Halloween do I do or not. And so the passage in Scripture that just deals specifically with this kind of cultural reality of the gospel going to cultures and Christians disagreeing is 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Now, the issue for the folks in ancient Corinth, which is kind of a wild place in itself, was whether Christians could buy meat, right, in the marketplace that was actually sacrificed to a false god. So you have the demon meat, false god meat, but it's like on Blue Light Special, right? It's like 50% off discount, right?
And probably they couldn't tell, right? I mean, you just walk through the market and
filet is a filet,
no
matter what god,
meat,
right?
Man. You gotta get your meat.
So there were Christians who thought just that, Jesse. They were like, "Hey, man, those gods aren't anything, or even if they are, Jesus is greater. Everything, other scriptures we have that all food can be participated with Thanksgiving." And others would say, "Man, I can't get past looking at this meat, knowing where it was bought, thinking about the false worship of this people that breaks my heart. So I can't eat it." And so instead of Paul either giving the full thumbs up or the pointing out that everybody was wrong, or certainly not giving the middle finger, he wanted the people to love each other. And so the advice he gives is super, super wise, obviously inspired by God. But I'm going to just read a short passage of Scripture here. It's 1 Corinthians 10:23 through 31 in the English Standard Version. "All things are lawful, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful, but not all things build up." That's a great principle. Christians, you're free. You can do lots of things in the world, but we want to build one another up in community and love. "Let no one seek just his own good, but the good of his neighbor. Eat whatever is sold in the meat market without raising any question on the ground of conscience. For the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof." He quotes the Psalms. "And if anyone of the unbelievers invites you to dinner or Halloween party, you are disposed to go eat whatever is set before you without raising any questions on the ground of conscience." So here is participation, thoughtful engagement.
And by the way, he's saying you don't be a picky eater, right?
Yeah.
If your non-Christian friends invite you over,
right. And
don't be a picky eater.
And they want you to eat vegan.
Eat the gluten.
They want you to
Just
eat vegan hamburgers or something.
Oh, yeah, or eat the... Oh.
Yeah. See, then now you're stretching me,
that's
man.
tough,
I don't know
man.
if I can do this, but this is what you do, right? You go in. Verse 28. "But if someone says to you, 'This has been offered in sacrifice,'" participate with me in my God, the meat that I worship my God with, "then do not eat it, for the sake of the one who informed you, and for the sake of conscience. I do not mean your conscience, but his. For why should my liberty be determined by someone else's conscience? If I partake with thankfulness, why am I denounced because of that which I give thanks? So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God." This issue of meat sacrificed to idols is all throughout chapter 10 of 1 Corinthians.
Yeah.
And the point is look, if this is a worship issue, we don't go in. If this is dinner with our friends, we are free to give thanks for the meat and take part. Now, there are some other passages talk about you don't want to cause your brother to stumble in something. So if your participation with Halloween, if you make your buddy go to your trick-or-treating party and he's destroyed by that, he thinks you're doing something wrong, don't do that to him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, all of us have the responsibility. The weaker brother has the responsibility to grow up and not stumble all the time. And then certainly we have the responsibility to not put things before people to cause them to think you're doing something evil. For instance, the alcoholic guy, you're like, "Hey, man, you can drink 2 beers with me." Well, he can't. And so we care for one another in community. And the way we handle these things, even things like Halloween.
Yeah, and I think that 1 Corinthians 10 passage is so interesting because he's saying, not for the sake of my own conscience, but for someone else's, or the sake of the consciousness or the conscience of this person, right? Because
That's right.
Really what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm not giving this person the wrong idea.
A false impression that the false worship
is true, is
okay,
valid,
right,
is you can do both. You can both worship your God and Yahweh, or our God.
That's
and
right.
so I think that's really helpful. One of the things with so our family. So this is probably just my philosophy of meaning and translatability.
Yeah.
And it shapes the way I view Halloween. Is what matters most is not what this word or this custom meant 1,500 years ago.
Right.
I don't know any druids.
Right.
I'm not friends with anybody who's like summoning devils.
Right.
That's just now. I'm not saying it's not happening.
Right. And when it does, right, or if it is with you or your children, That's a serious matter.
Serious matter, and it would potentially cause a change in in my practices.
Right.
If my next door neighbor was a high priest of Satanism,
Yeah, a Wiccan priestess or Wiccan
things would
priest,
change.
yeah, come
right?
over and worship, the spirits of nature with me.
Right. Yeah. Then I would. So to me, what matters is, what does this word or this custom, this tradition mean in my context, in my neighborhood, in our era, to us, because God has put me with actual neighbors who I'm called to love, and so I need to think about those neighbors, not 5th century Druid priests that I honestly don't even know that much about.
Right.
Nobody does. We sort of can make conjectures and guesses about
we have
what they
traditions that
did,
have come
right?
down and
And so for me, I think that's kind of a basic, presupposition is not so much what did this mean, but what does it mean? There are words now that mean something totally different than they meant 30 years ago or 100 years ago. And so we have to take into our own thinking, what does this word mean to my neighbors? What does this word mean to my church? What does this word or custom? What does this custom or tradition mean now? So, that's.
So if we could summarize and go back to our hand, I don't think any Christian has the right to point the finger at others who do something with Halloween as necessarily all evil just because they did, kids dressed up as a little Incredible Hulk and went and said trick or treat. So prohibitionists, you step back, reconsider, nor should we throw caution to the wind with something like occultic practices and thumbs up and green light, everything. In the middle there, and I'm not saying being casual in our treatment of things, think about what you can. If you're coming out of Wiccanism, you probably don't want to celebrate Halloween, and I get that. Abstain.
Yep.
If there are moderate practices where you participate, think about it wisely. Right? Is the Hell House the most strategic way to reach my neighbors? It might be, might not be. It's not for me. And then how do you thoughtfully engage people on this wonderful night where you might mix with people that normally don't come together in the same context on the same street?
And can we say, if you're whatever finger you fall on, that we need to be charitable towards the other fingers?
That's right.
Yeah. So
That's
I find oftentimes the well, I don't know I forget what fingers these things are. The middle finger giving itself
that's
to
your
the
abstentionist,
to the ring finger. In other words, a lot of times we think that whatever finger we fall on in that is the right finger.
Yeah.
And if you're not on that finger,
everybody else is bad.
You're just dumb, or you're bad. And so I think one of the things we also want to say is, let's make room. Let's make sure that we're thinking charitably about people with different views about this,
and learn why and what together as we do it. But the bottom line, don't point fingers and don't thumbs up everything in the world that is tainted with sin and false worship.
Hey, let me give you one last. I meant to bring this up earlier with the practice of shaming the evil. The evil, gargoyles, and really the idea of dressing up in that way as a form of mocking. I think it's biblical. Psalm 2, why do the nations rage and the people plot in vain? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and his anointed. So now we've got this picture of the evil forces in opposition to God, the Father, and his anointed one, which we know to be Jesus, his son.
Right.
And this is what they say, the evil forces, let us burst their bonds apart and cast away their cords from us. So setting up in rebellion, the dark forces against God. And then it says this in Psalm 2:4, he who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord holds them in derision. And so there's this picture that God is even scoffing. He's mocking. He's mocking the devil, right? And so
the book of Habakkuk has a little bit of that too, as well. The one thing to add to that, because I totally agree, the lowly setting up itself against God Almighty is silly, and so God rightly sees it as such. The one thing I would add to that is that Christians are not called to hey, I'm the one. We're called to resist the devil and he will flee from us. We're called in Jesus' name has power over Satan and demons. Jesus is the victor over it. But the important reminder comes out of the book of Jude where we know it's the Lord who rebukes the devil.
Yeah.
And we don't mock on our own, because then we would confide in our own strength over spiritual powers that we think we know about, but literally God is the one who is the one who can talk junk to the devil, do the end zone dance, and slam it down in triumphal procession and victory over
Psalm 2 just was kind of for historically this sort of grounding idea of like let's participate with God in this. Again, I'm not saying that we need to go around dressing like the devil in order to shame the devil with how ridiculous he is. But there is a history there with that.
That's right, and there's biblical warrant. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. Well, if as we close today, I'm going to do a couple review issues.
We talk books and tech and movies and things, but don't care enough to write anything. It's not a review, we're not that into it, so sit right down, it's time for Reviewish.
All right. Well, a couple things that you might want to be interested in. Two things. I mentioned the history of Christianity and alcohol, so I want to recommend a book on that. And then also a book just on the history of Halloween. The Halloween book is the book by Nicholas Rogers, Halloween from Pagan Ritual to Party Night. 2002 Oxford University Press, very comprehensive, even has a nice little font in the Kindle edition. You can check that out. And then a book about prohibition. So, because, Christians were very involved in prohibiting alcohol, the pointing the finger, so to speak, at beer and other things throughout the late 19th and early 20th century. Whether or not that was helpful to Christianity in America, I'll leave up to you. But there's a book called Last Call, The Rise and Fall of Prohibition by Daniel Okrent. Fantastic book looking at those players that were involved in passing an amendment to our Constitution that was then rescinded later with some low alcohol beers being brought to the White House. You can check that out. And finally, I want to brag a little bit on our review section, Jesse. Last night, October 29th issue of Shark Tank, the CNBC show Shark Tank, where angel investors invest in companies. They invested in the Brazen Life More Foam Roller. So,
the instrument of torture from last time.
Hey, man, the Gospel Underground was ahead of the Shark Tank.
You're welcome, Shark Tank.
You're welcome for putting them on the map for you. Well, hey, Jesse, it's been a great episode. Yeah. Enjoy your party. I don't know what our plans is. I know what our kids are going to be. I don't know if we're here or there. I'm guessing we'll be in our neighborhood, but thank you, brother, for that invite. I'm sure it's going to be quite the horde heading down your street for a bit of honey. But thanks, as always, to Sugar the High Lows for allowing us to license the song. See it for yourself as our theme song. The Gospel Underground is a joint production of Power of Change and the Bonhoeffer House. Send your comments, feedback, greasy cups, or questions you might have that you'd like us to take up here to info@gospelunderground.org. We are a dialogue taking place in the borderlands of Halloween between the church and culture, and we want to see you out there in them streets. Peace.